Guys, welcome to the gym. It's Rahul here today, and with me is top 8 Orlando Regionals finisher John Orgel. How are you doing
Guys,
today?
I'm pretty good.
John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 25 and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I've been playing Pokemon competitively since Black and White base set, so about 4 years.
Okay.
And that's about it. I've won a states before, beat Rahul mercilessly in that one. and I've topped two regionals in a row now. This one in Georgia was the last tournament I played. That was the last big tournament I played in was Georgia regionals, and
Sure.
so I feel like I'm doing pretty good.
All right. So, talk us through a couple of the decisions I guess you made when going into deciding that you were going to play Mewtwo this weekend.
So I had it narrowed down to two decks for about 2 weeks. I knew Mewtwo was really good. I've been testing around with it. I took it to a local tournament in Myrtle Beach and went undefeated there. And it was running really well. Like there wasn't a lot of problems. Like my list was just consistent. And I'm like, this is a good list. So I tried testing something that has anti-meta, which ended up being Glaceon, Regice, um, Lugia, and a Mew tech in there.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I was like, oh, this is not consistent enough. It was so close, but it was just like whiffing the setup for Vileplume turn one. And I shared that list with Alex Hill
Mm-hmm.
before before Georgia regionals, and it was so funny. Like I got to the regionals, and he's like, "All right, dude, I want to show you my list, but you can't tell anybody what I'm playing." And I'm like, "Dude, I freaking hope you made that list." It was so funny.
You're the
I mean,
problem.
it was, and no, I'm not. I'm saying that. I'm sure he put a lot more effort and a lot more. He definitely put a lot more effort, a lot more time than I did because his list was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like running he was running Regice and Glaceon, but he was also running a lot of like he's more of a toolbox with Rainbow Energy and
Yep.
Electric Energy. But that's how I came to my decision. I was coming into last minute and I was just like Vileplume's not consistent enough. I'm gonna go with Mewtwo, and
That's
that's
fair.
that's how I came. And it's a 9 round tournament day one. You
Yeah.
need to pick the most consistent deck.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to play a consistent enough deck that'll get you into day two, and then whatever happens, happens, right?
Yeah, basically.
So I guess run me through. I know you don't want your list shared. That'll be on the Rare Candy, so check them out. I'll link that when John records that with his boys there. So anything interesting about your list that you had out of the ordinary, I guess, Mewtwo builds?
Well, I got to give a shout out to Tablemon. He's a Mexican player. I forget his name. I think it's Pablo.
Pablo, yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good player, and I took his base Mewtwo list, and I thought it was good. I liked the consistency of that list, and then I kind of tweaked it around. I added a Pokemon Center lady. That
Oh,
was
that's
kind of
cute.
spicy tech. Yeah, yeah. It's heal 30 or not 30, heal 60 and remove all status conditions. And I mean, I can get into the tournament a little bit. Like that card was fairly clutch. I don't know if it was like the best choice. There was times where I was like, oh, I wish this was an enhanced hammer, or oh, I wish this was an escape rope. But that's with anything.
Yeah.
So I ran that, and then the other major change I made to that list originally was I removed special charge and super rod. I didn't run special charge with super rod on my list, and I added a second parallel city,
Okay.
which that card was clutch. Like there are so many games where if I open Parallel City and play it before, because so many decks now, even if you're like Greninja or anything, you're going to run Parallel City.
That's correct.
So
Yeah.
if you're able to play that before your opponent gets the chance to play it, you're able to like limit their bench size because they can't bump it. And against a Volcanion, it helps reduce the damage there. Against Greninja, it helps reduce the damage there. So it was a really good card.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So I guess well, I'll just let you get into day one.
Um, so day one, I went 2-0 the first 2 rounds. I played against the Pokédad the first round, playing the mirror. I never played the mirror before, so that was like trying to figure that out. Thankfully, my opponent had never played the mirror either. He said after the match, and I figured like I think I had a good strategy going into the mirror. Like I thought it through before I started the tournament. I was just like, how do I beat the mirror? And I ended up just poking it, like starting Mewtwo and then setting up all my Mewtwo's on my bench, attaching a Psychic and then poking it for like 60 damage. So that way I could come up with another Mewtwo and knock it out, but not risk him having a return knockout on my Mewtwo.
Okay.
And I think that worked out really well. That's what I used round one. Round two, I think I played Volcanion. I don't know for sure. I beat that round lunch break, then round 3 and 4. I think round 3 after lunch, I had to play my guy Eric Smith. He's one of the guys that actually rode up with me. He's part of the Rare Candy channel, and I tested against him that Friday, so it was hilarious because he knew my list and I knew his list entirely, and so it was just like a 66. It was like we both knew, like, so we ended up tying, which I guess it makes sense. He was playing Mega Caesar or Garbodor, which can be punishing for Mewtwo. It's really hard to knock those guys out,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get my Pokemon Center Lady when I needed to prevent him getting 2-hit knockouts or like, yeah. Anyway, um, after Mega Caesar, I played against. This is my only loss for the day was Gyarados. Now, I knew about Gyarados because y'all stream. Like, to be honest, Grafton
Yeah.
did that 24-hour stream, and he played Gyarados for like 3 freaking hours at least.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching it, he was playing Gyarados the whole time,
People
and I'm sure
thought it
that's
was a
all.
secret deck. We played it on stream a couple times
Oh, I
playing
know. It's
Gyarados.
hilarious. I get there and everybody's like talking about the secret deck that Bob, what's his name? Bob Zhang?
Bob
I think.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Bob Zhang came up with a secret deck. All the New York players were hyping it up, and I'm like, wait a minute. I saw this deck like 3 weeks ago. Don't even tell me that.
All credit to Bob though. He did play it at an LC I think a month and a half ago, and that's where everyone I think got the idea.
Uh, well, he even said though. I asked Bob where he got the idea from when he was at the tournament, and he's like, yeah, I got it from somebody playing online, and I think he made his own list off of that. Like that's how it is. I
Yeah.
mean, that's you play on PTCGO, you see everything. So there's not any really like huge secret lists as much as there used to be. But anyway, I digress. After that, it was 2-1-1, and I'm like, I have to win out now, essentially, to get to day 2.
Hmm.
And it's a blur from there. A lot of my matches were pretty close. I played a mirror, I believe, where I played against Jay Young, and it's pretty bad. I won't go into specifics, but there was like an inside joke between a bunch of players there that had a playmat featuring him and another person in it, and I switched out my playmat with that playmat because I knew it might put him on tilt, and I felt really bad after the fact because he's a nice guy. Like I get down to play, we start shuffling, and we're all like I'm just talking casually, and then he looks down at my playmat, and just like his whole tone changes. Like you can sense like, oh,
Yeah.
where'd you get that playmat? And I'm like, I'm not at liberty to say who I got it from. And he's like, you got it from so and so, and I'm just like, yeah. And so we go, and I don't know. I think there's a certain line you have to like kind of toe, but you don't really want to cross too much. Is that line where you're like, am I gaming the guy? If am I shooting the angle? Like, or am I trying to like get in my guy's head? My opponent's head,
Yeah.
and like trying to disrupt them. But so like I think game 1, I 2-0'd him, but game 1 was super close. Like he was beating me the entire game. This was the mirror, so he was beating me the entire game. And eventually, like I just ended him late game and came back ridiculously. Like somehow I forget, but it was basically like, I got a knockout on his Mewtwo, and when he down to 2, and he never drew any energy the rest of the game, never drew supporter or anything like that. And then second game after that, like it was another like he came out to an early lead. Kind of like that. That was the feel of the whole day. I feel like I lost a lot of. I didn't lose many games, but I was on the verge of losing a lot of games. And Mega Mewtwo is, from my experience that weekend, was just one of the like strongest comeback decks because you can basically like have a clean Mewtwo. To give you an idea, later on in that round, later on in day 1, no, this was day 2. I'll get to that. But basically, sorry. You can basically like go from having a clean Mewtwo to knocking out a Mega EX Pokemon in one turn if you get the right hand, and that I don't think happens with any other deck. Maybe Volcanion, not even Volcanion. There's not a lot of decks that can do that, so it's really explosive when it
One
needs.
shots are like super rare right now in standard, which is what I really like.
Yeah, Mega Ray maybe.
But Mega Ray's
And-
bad.
Yeah, and Rainbow Road probably.
Mhm.
If they're not in standard though, it's a little harder because they don't. A lot of them are running that max elixir, and they only run 8 energy, and they don't really hit it that often.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So I beat Jay Young, and then I played against. He was a really good player. I forget his name. I have it on my phone, so I can look it up real quick if you want to edit it.
No, you can just ball, keep going. I don't mind.
Oh, I have it on my picture. I have a picture of my
Sure.
that Sorry, it'll take 2 seconds.
No, no worries, dude.
Um,
I know it was a blur.
Dustin Parker.
Okay.
Um, this was round 7, and he was playing Dark with the Mewtwo. And
Okay.
I was not really familiar with that deck. I had looked at a couple of videos before I went up to, or went down to Orlando, and I like studied up and saw this is the general theme of the deck, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well Garbodor shuts that down. I should be okay. Man, I didn't get Garbodor out right away, and he got like he was basically dead drawing, and I was dead drawing, but he was hitting with an Umbreon and knocked out a Mega Mewtwo with an I didn't knock out a Mega Mewtwo with an Umbreon. He knocked out a Mewtwo with an Umbreon. I was careful not to like Mega Evolve because I knew like if he takes 2 more prizes with that dumb attack, I'm about done for. And it came down to like I eventually got Garbodor out, had a decent draw, and was able to overcome him. And he was dead drawing that game, and I think he dead drew the second game. But he was a really good player, and I was like, this is stressing me out. And then what was it? Round 8, I played against Michael Gross. And he was like a Magic player that was fairly new to the game, but you could tell like he had a really good grasp of card games in general from a strategic standpoint. Like he knew what to do, when to do it, like didn't make any misplays, and he was playing your deck basically, the Darkrai Giratina,
Hmm.
and that deck is not fun for me to play against. A
Nope.
lot of it was contingent upon getting Garbodor at the right time.
Hmm.
I Lysandered around the Giratina as much as I could, and eventually like got Garbodor out. And then, I mean, I made some mistakes. The problem with that being like a Fury belted Darkrai is so hard for Mega Mewtwo to knock out. It's
Yeah.
so hard, and that Fury belted Darkrai can swing away because unless they got Garbodor out, they can't really knock out your main source of energy,
Hmm.
the Giratina.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to knock that out because you only have 2 energy on the Darkrai and blah blah blah. But eventually I did, and not for lack of trying. I forgot the math. Like I forgot resistance twice in that game in that series, and it almost cost me because the first game I lost because I forgot about resistance and he got the return KO, and the second game I forgot about resistance, but I was like it wasn't until he was such a good Magic player. You know, I'm doing the math, like doing it again, and then like doing it again, and I'm like, do I have enough to knock you out? He just looks at me and he's like, you know, just like the whole like, what great man. And he was like doing. You could tell he was a Magic player, and it was great because I love having everybody in Pokemon right now. It's fun. He was like, I would do every time I played something, he would be like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because in Magic, you have to like be able, you can counter stuff and all that. But like, I'm like, dude, I called him out on it by like game 3. I'm like, dude, why do you keep saying okay? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in Magic mindset. And I just kept needling him about it. I was just like, uh, you don't have to keep saying okay. It's okay, bro. You know, and it's just, you know, it's funny. At the end of the day, everybody's just tired and wants to go
Yeah.
home. But it was a close series, and I don't know. It was just that one. I think was probably the hardest one I had, hardest matchup that day. The last round was really interesting. I knew all I had to do was draw, and I got into cut, which was really nice. Like, there's not many times where you're in a position to do that unless you're Rahul ready. Um, this guy. But so last round, I'm like, all right, well, cool. All I have to do is draw with my opponent, and then I see my pairings, and I'm paired up against somebody with 20 or 19 points, or what was it?
Oh.
Like, the one less. Like, he had 2 losses.
Yeah.
It was what was it, 7 and I don't know,
Six.
whatever. He couldn't ID is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. He's like, and I'm trying to like be the mean guy and be like, do you want to ID? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna get in a cut if I do that. And I'm just like, okay. Like, it was really hard not to like scumbag him out of it, but at the same time, like, you know, I'm there. I ended up saying like, I'm there to play. Let's play. You know, and like, I had a really like, it was a Mewtwo mirror, and he was super cautious with everything. Like, we had 3 Mega Mewtwo's built up on the bench, and then like both of us had a Trubbish active before either one of us started attacking. And it was just funny because I was sitting there the whole time, and I'm just like, you know, I don't really want to start this Mewtwo war going back to like 2012, 2013. I don't want to start a Mewtwo war, but I'll be the one that pokes the bear. And I think I ended up poking it with like I said, like the first game I played that day, starting with that Mewtwo and just hitting it for 60.
Yeah.
And like last ending up a Mega Mewtwo. And I think he was looking for a last ender the whole game too and didn't hit one. And I last ended up that first Mega Mewtwo and hit it for 60.
Yeah.
And that kind of, it worked in my favor because even when, it was his turn to be aggressive, he didn't have enough energy on his stuff to knock my Mewtwo's out because you're not hitting for weakness. You have to get a lot of energy on your guys. And the moment that you put that thing up there, they're going to hit it and knock it out because you don't have enough. You have a lot of energy on there. Anyway, and it was close. I won game 1, and I'm like, do you want ID now? And he's like, no, I don't know. This is like, he was just like mind games the whole time. He's like, oh, I don't know. This is so hard. This is, and you can tell like he was one of those, like he was a very hesitant player. A super nice guy. I'm gonna get his name real quick. It was Wade Oliver, I think. Yeah, Wade Oliver, and he's from Texas. Super nice guy. And I'm friends with him now. It's just funny, like to think about. Like I hate putting people in that situation, but I also enjoy it. Like the twisted part of me enjoys it a little bit. So, yeah. So we ended up not IDing, but we ended up coming to tie. I think game 2 he wins it. But I'm basically not like playing slow, but just playing like the regular pace I would play in any Switch match instead of trying to go, and get a game 3 done with. It comes to, we both have like 6 prizes left at when time is called during game 3. So I get I get to top 32. I'm still sweating it at this point. I don't think, like that's the thing. Like I could be told over and over and over again, you're gonna make cut, but I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So I was freaking out, and then eventually, it was so funny when when the standings were posted. I walk over there and I can't see because there's this huge mass of people, and I just remember like shouting out at somebody that's standing in front of it, a guy named Steven Hunter, and I'm like, Steven, what's my rank? And he tells me, oh, you're 25, and I just like, oh god, so close. And I'm like, because in my mind I'm like 25 misses the cut. I was thinking like 35 or something like that, and I had to look around and like my brother or something was like, dude, you're being an idiot. Like, come on, you made day 2, and I'm like, oh. It felt really good. So that was fun. Any questions? I got the verbal diarrhea going. I'm sorry.
It's all right. So you've made day 1. Before we jump into day 2, how do you just describe the experience of the event as a whole? Day 1, how it was run, etc.
So for me, I got there around 8. I was telling somebody while we were in line, like, oh, this could take a while. There's so many people like to get in there and get through everything. And I know how Arizona went with, had to print off deck lists or deck sheets or whatever, or registration sheets. And I'm like, well, it could be forever, Like it was 8:30, and I was standing in line. I'm like, well, we probably won't even start till like 11. And lo and behold, we were in our seats ready to play at 10:30. So it was really nice. Like I don't think there's only been a few regionals where I've had a full hour lunch break. Been able to sit in my seats, no real big repairs throughout the tournament, no real like catastrophes, and I have to give credit where credit's due. Like they put a lot of work and effort, and it showed. And I've seen that on Burbank Echoed. I've seen that when I've talked to people about this event. Regionals as a whole is always a stressful experience, and it's always gonna be a long day, and you come in there thinking that, but when you're surprised to find you're out of there by 11:30 instead of 1 o'clock in the morning, it's a really nice thing. So I was happy with that. I didn't really get a lot of sleep the night before. I had to pick up my friend Will Beers at the airport around 5:20 in the morning.
I remember he was like landing. I was like, you're coming in at like 5 in the morning? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, and I picked him up there, and I didn't sleep much the night before. Like that night, I got in around midnight, and like. If you go to Pokemon tournaments and you're a player, you're crammed in a room with like 4 or 5 other guys at least, and so it was just tough, sleeping in that room with one guy snoring and like, it just stank a little bit because I'd already been in a car and didn't really take a shower before I went to bed. I'm getting off topic, but that's the regionals experience. That if you want to know, it's nothing glamorous for sure.
It's a grind, yeah. All right, day 1 ends. You're chilling. How do you feel? Like, just give me like 5 words.
Honestly, like, I felt pretty zen about it. Like, I didn't really get inside my head. I wasn't freaking out. I was thinking about, 25th is not a bad spot to be in, but it means there's a lot of work tomorrow. But I had this sense of like confidence in my deck choice and confidence in like, Mega Mewtwo is not necessarily the like rogue deck that can beat everything, but it's the standard like strong, consistent deck that has a chance to beat anything.
It was the expected tier 1 deck.
Right. So I go in and like it's kind of like you stick your flag in the ground and say if you can take it, good job, but I'm gonna be here to stay. Like that's
Yeah.
how the attitude I think I had coming in was like I'm gonna make this day mine. I did my hype song in the morning. I always listen to Firework by Katy Perry before I go to day two.
Good choice.
I get to day two. I did that in Georgia. I did that here, and then I like listened to some Drake, and I was just like, we're ready. We're zoning in. It is good.
All right,
And
so
I get there, and like I'm hydrated. I worked out that morning. I was ready to go, so it was fun.
we're at day 2. We're all there in the morning. How you feeling? You're getting ready. Just jump into day 2. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So I started off phenomenally well. I played against I'm gonna mess this up. I think it was David, Dan's brother, David Richards,
Yeah.
and I saw that, and thankfully we had the luxury of like knowing what our opponents were playing. Somebody made a nice list on Burbank City of all the different decks that were in top 32, and I'm like, crap, that's my worst matchup. He was playing the Despair Ray Mega Gardevoir, and I'm playing Mega Mewtwo, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, I'm not. Before I even knew that, I knew that that'd be my deck to beat. Like if I had to go against that, I'm like, I have to have a strategy to beat that deck. So I talked to Christian Ortiz, and I was like, what do I do against that matchup? I think. And he talked me through, and he's like, I think you just have to go big Mewtwo and just like hope that they whiff what they whiff, and just hit through everything that they put up. Try to outspeed them because they're going to be manually attaching to that Mega Gardevoir. So what I ended up doing was doing exactly that game one. He got set up okay, but he kind of whiffed an energy to start off with, or something like that. And I knocked out that first Mega Gardevoir and like just kept putting that pressure on there. I think he got a return KO, but I had the Mewtwo to respond with that, And so the first game was really close. Like the whole game, I'm just sweating, and I'm like, at any point in time, like I just draw dead with energy and like whiff a KO on something. He just goes smack, 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 and that's the game.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is 3 knockouts on Mewtwo's because I'm weak to Psychic. So game one was really close. Game two was really just totally opposite. Like I draw really, really well, and I think he just dead drew the whole game. Or no, he didn't dead drew. Sorry, he to start off with he whiffed Spirit Link a bunch, and so he couldn't get the Mega out. And then at the end of the game, he whipped the Mega, so he couldn't get like anything going. And it was tough to watch, but at the same time, you're kind of like, this is the only way I can beat this matchup.
Right.
So you're not too beat up about it. So that's how round one went. Round two, I played against Volcanion, and this was the game that definitely stressed me out the most. I think all of day two. This is when I was trying to like get out earlier, but I'm going to get into it. Game one, I 2-0'd everybody. I didn't have any loss. Just to preface this, I didn't have a single loss until I got to the final round, the 5th round that day.
Okay.
So if that gives you an idea. Game two, I'm losing. He gets the Volcanion out fairly quick. I think turn two, he's hitting, turn two or turn three, he's hitting my Mewtwo for knockout. And I'm just like, how do I even do this? Like, I put up Trubbish to give, a little bit more time. And eventually, like, I get all the pieces together, and I'm able to knock out his one Volcanion EX. And I end him, and, like, just kind of, like, hope that he can't. Like, I have Garbodor out in play. I just hope he can't, hope he doesn't get another guy set up. And eventually he like whiffs stuff. Like he didn't have enough setup on his bench to get any return KOs and all that stuff. And the game, like, it was crazy. That was the first game. That went fairly smoothly, but the second game was even more crazy. Like there was a point in time where all I had active was my Garbodor with a tool on it. I had a Mega Mewtwo on my bench with 100 and no. I'm totally messing all this up. Oh my gosh, this is the problem when I do it after. I should have wrote this down because that was something else. That was from day one, and that was, anyway. But we'll pretend like it's from this. That'd be more fun, right? No, but I know that they were just closed games. I'm not going to really try to get into details, and I apologize that I don't have this more thought out, but oh well.
It's all right. It's like you played 15 rounds. It's a ridiculously long 2 days.
Yeah, I'm talking about the game during when I had to play against Friday Night Yveltal. That like in game one or in day one, I had a point in time where I had just a Garbodor and a Mega Mewtwo, and I had to get the damage swap the next turn, but my Mega Mewtwo had no energy, and there was just a lot of that was pretty hype. But I won't go back to that for time's sake.
All right, so round 13, where are you at? How you doing? Or 12? You're at round 12 now.
Round 12, I think that was probably the easiest match I had all day. No, but my opponent made it difficult for what his deck was. I was playing against Greninja, and that's not like terribly hard if you know how to play it. All you have to do is get the damage swap Mewtwo out, and they really can't one-shot you. All they can do is just hit you and hit you and hit you and hit you and hit you, and you just damage swap. Damage swap. What you end up doing is like you get 3 psychics on there. You can damage swap to their Greninja, even if it's a break, and then you do the whatever it is, 30 times the number of psychic energy on there. You shatter shot, so you do damage swap then shatter shot with just a regular Mewtwo. And if you have Garbodor in play, they have no ability to knock you out. And you kind of just ignore the burst balloons. Like they're not really gonna like. Thankfully, damage. I think it's damage change. I keep saying damage swap. Damage change doesn't activate burst balloon because you're not doing attack damage. You're doing an effective attack, which is an interesting mechanic. But so you're able to get around that a little bit, and you can Lysander around the burst balloons a little bit. Game one was really, really close though. I was dominating board position wise, but I had like 5 cards left in deck, and what he ended up doing was changing strategies to basically just put up Froakies and start bubbling me and hoping I'd dead draw or like deck out because I have no real way to switch out of stuff. I don't run Escape Rope. I don't run Olympia, but clutch card comes in, man. Oh, Pokemon Center Lady showing her worth for sure. There was a time where I had 4 cards left in deck, and I think I had 4 prizes left or something like that. And I'm like, oh crap, I have to take a knockout the next one, like 4 out of the next 5 turns to win this game. I think, yeah, that makes sense. 4 out of the next 5 turns to win this game. And there was a time where, like, and statistically speaking, like that's not going to happen. Like he's able to bubble enough. I have to get lucky on some level, or like hit my Center Lady, at least once. And I did hit it. Like I hit it when I needed to hit it, and that was clutch. And I ended up winning, I think, on my last card. Like his bubble hit tails, and I won that game, and that was really close. And game 2 was a little more lopsided on my favor. He dead drew. I think he ended up. I don't know if he ran Mencino or not. But I think he started Mencino. Oh no! What did he? No, that was. Oh my God! They're all running together. All the Greninjas. The day one. I'm sorry. The day one where I played Greninja, he ran Mencino. I don't know if this guy did. I think he might have, but man, yeah. Anyway, that second game was a lot more lopsided. Yeah, and then the round after that, I ID'd with Alex Kreckler. Szymanski, sorry. Alex Szymanski, and I'm like, that's good. I don't really like that deck. Like, I didn't know what he was playing 100%, but I think it was something bad. And I remember, like, I looked it up later, and I think he was playing the Vileplume box because I played him in top 8. So, there you go. If you don't know the spoiler, I lost top 8. But so I ID'd with Alex, and then I have to play his teammate Alex Hill for the last round, and I offer the ID, and he's over there figuring out all the math before the round, making sure like, well, if I ID 2, do I make it into the top 8? And he figured it out, and he's the one that bubbles. There was one person with the 21 points, the X, I think it was X whatever, how many points you ever needed to get to that level, and he was that person. He ended up if he tied that game, he would have bubbled in 9th place. And so he's like, I have to play it out. If Ryan doesn't win, or if like one of these other players that is on that bubble doesn't win, then maybe we can ID and both get in. But as it stands right now, he has to play it out. And so we play game 1. Game 1, I just dominate him. Like I get my turn 1. I go first, I think. Yeah, I go first. And my turn 1, I get 2 float stones on 2 Trebushes. And I think I started to Mega Mewtwo and just had a psychic energy or something like that. And like there was no shot. Like he benched a Regice, I Lysandered up and killed it every time. He he tried ending me, and I drew out of it, that kind of stuff. So he didn't win game one. Game two, and this is kind of, that's not the scumbag, but like this is kind of like the strategy you have to do to win a regional sometimes, especially when you're trying to ID. You know that at this point, if you win a game one in a regional scenario, you have all the advantage, because a lot of times the format's not built to play 3 games. The format's built to play one good game. So if I win game one and then it's a long-ish game one, you're able to not slow play, but like play deliberately, play like thoughtfully, and just like look at like, take your time, shuffling, and take your time, like figuring out stuff. And I don't think I mean, me and Alex are friends, and I don't think you would ever say like I played slow. Like I played deliberately, but I didn't play slow or anything like that. And like, so it ended up going to, he won game 2, and then we go to game 3, and we get to like, start the game, and it ends on time, and we can't take the prizes. So, that's that. We ended up at drawing. So it was funny. Both my days, both my Swiss rounds ended with a draw, but it wasn't an ID. It was I had to play it out. I had to earn the draw. That was stressful. I'll say that. And at that point, I don't think I was thinking back, like at that point when I knew like I'm in top 8, I don't think I was like, at that point I was very like kind of like I'm out there. I'm like thinking like, wow, I just top 8'd the largest regionals in ever, and I'm like, that's such an awesome deal. And I'm just like, and I'm thinking of I have to play the same deck I played against. I feel pretty confident about that because now I know the whole list already. Alex showed me his list before they even started to play. I don't know if it was Alex Mansky again. And I don't know if he played the Jirachi. I think he might have played something else, but I don't know.
They played the exact 60.
Okay, then that makes sense. I didn't see Jirachi. That's the only reason. And it would have been a good card against Mewtwo. But I guess he approached it a little bit more strategically than Alex Hill. I'm not saying Alex Hill didn't approach it strategically, but so I go into top 8, and it was kind of a stressor. Like I don't really buy into, before I get into top 8, they made me re-sleeve my deck. And it was so weird. Like, not like this is a knock on the judges. Like, I get that they're trying to keep everything above board. I like playing with clear sleeves. I don't know. It's something I started in Georgia regionals, and it's not like I'm. It helps me like when I look down and see the Pokemon logo and see like, it helps me remind me what game I'm playing, kind of thing. Like, not like in a old man sense, like, oh, my memory's fading. I have to remind myself I'm playing Pokemon. But it's like, I know that this is for a lot of money, and it's for a lot of prizes. Like, to win this regionals would kind of cement like my financial stability if I wanted to keep playing Pokemon the rest of the season and travel and all that stuff. So it's important to remind yourself, when you're playing this game, that this is essentially a children's card game. Like it's not your day job. It's not open heart surgery. It's not like you're sending somebody to the moon. It is you and another person enjoying something together that you both have as a common interest. And that's the power of the game, but that's also like, once you start getting away from that, and start focusing on the money and the competitive elements of it, it starts to go downhill. So I like having that reminder right there. I know I'm getting off topic, but I like to have that reminder right there of just what game I'm playing. So they made me re-sleeve it because they were saying, oh, well, some of your cards have edgeware. And I get that. Like, I'm not trying to like play the system or whatever. Someone could say, oh, your cards are marked, and I'm like, well, I can't remember what my marked cards look like. It's like the nicks on, like, it's to give you an idea of what they're talking about. If you look at the back of a card, and you have that border, there's some times where like if you insert the card with your fingernail and your fingernail kind of nicks something or whatever, like, and or just have it in a binder and like pull it in and out, like it just has wear and tear. And so they, and I get that. Like, that's what they're trying to do, is keep everything above board. So I switched that out and start the top 8, and that was, the game 1 was fine. I start Mewtwo, and I start like, I get Garbodor out, but I don't get Lysander to Lysander up his Regice that he's building up on his bench, and knock that out. I kind of started dead drawing, even though I had the Garbodors out, which was great. I was still sitting there without the ability to do a whole lot. So it was just, game one was stressful. It ended up being like if this game was streamed, like people would have stopped watching Pokemon because it became that stupid match where I was basically he would hit me for 70, I would damage swap. And then he would draw a card and hit me for 70, I would draw a card and I damage swap. We did that for like 15, 20 turns till I decked out until he won the game that way. But I made sure I played that out. I feel like if I do play that out, I put myself in a position to where if I win a game two and game three goes to tie, I can probably get to the point where I've taken three prize cards or taken, the three prize cards you need in order to win the game and you're ahead on prize cards,
Yeah.
So that's my strategy. If I want to beat this deck, it's not going to be because I just, roll it. It'll be because I win close games. So I want to put myself in a decent position. Game two was probably the worst. Oh, this was traumatic. Oh, man. I start Hoopa. I think one Psychic, one DC, one VS Seeker, one VS Seeker. I think a Lysander or something like that. And then, basically an essentially useless hand that doesn't even have anything I can get to. So that was frustrating. I ended up trying to power up Hoopa to use its attack. I couldn't even tell you what the name of the attack is, but it's 3 Psychic and it hits something on your opponent's field for 100 damage. And I'm like, okay, he had a rainbow attached to his Regice. If I can, Lysander up the Vileplume and hit that Regice for 100 damage, I can then knock out that Regice later with a Trubbish. That's the point of, this is the stupid stuff you get to when you're just scrounging around for ideas, man. But this is how you win regionals. I know, this is not I've won at regionals, that's how I know. But this is I've seen streams where they just do dumb stuff like this and basically refuse to scoop and just concede. And this is how you have to gut it out sometimes. And I had I had one Psychic, one DC, and all right, 2 Psychic and 1 DC on my Hoopa. And he's not really I Lysandered up the Vileplume and I end him the next turn because he was whiffing energy, and he dead drew, I think. And then it was so close. At any point in time, he got Vileplume out, but at any point in time, if I'm able to get another Psychic energy and hit that Regice on the bench, that'll knock out all his energy, and then he's not really able to go from there. And it was just it was a frustratingly I didn't draw a supporter that whole game. A draw supporter. I got an Ultra Ball right the turn after he got item lock, that kind of thing. So that's how it goes, man. I'm not, I think I played against one of the Lopez brothers in Swiss playing Volcania, and I always get them mixed up, so I don't really want to say the first name. But I played him, and, I think this was my round two. That's who I played against round two. It was God, I don't want to say his name. Is Daniel or David? I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the Lopez brothers, and he dead drew the whole game, and I felt not bad about it, but I just hate to win that way sometimes. He came there all that way to play Pokemon, and he just dead draw, and he's I'd rather lose dead drawing any day than if I misplay. And I'm oh, that's a good perspective to have. So I kind of adopted that. I lost top 8, but it wasn't because I misplayed. I tried every option. I gave it my best shot, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
Was that opportunity to do that. So that's that.
All right, congrats again on top 8. Any final shout-outs? Anything you want to give?
Just want to give a shout out to my brother Patrick Orgel. He helped somewhat with testing. And what else? Give a shout out to Eric, Will Beers, and to Brian Fox, the guys I roomed with. Super cool guys. And I guess Christian Ortiz, to Table One, to all the people that helped me out this weekend. Thank you guys. It really means a lot when I get any help from anybody at a Pokemon tournament. It's always appreciated. So, thank you guys. I always love seeing everybody, and I love seeing Rahul for sure. And just reminding myself of the time when we were at Maryland States and all drinking the Arnold Palmers together.
And I was shorter than you back then.
Oh, I know. It's so. I think I saw the photo. You'll have to. I'll have to send it to you so you can like post it at the end of the video just to show everybody. It's hilarious. Like Raul's got no. It's so funny to see how much you've grown since then. Now like muscles now, because your voice was like 18 octaves low, higher pitched, and just like, oh man, it was great. But man, thank you for so much for you guys doing what you do. I really appreciate it, especially having a stream that's consistent and good. It means a lot. Like it means a lot that like we kind of back to the Top Cut when Puka streams once a week. It's nice to have somebody just come in and say, all right, we're gonna make sure people have a good source of deck lists, have a good source of just like community and all that stuff. So you guys are doing a great job and keep it up.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for being here, John, and good luck.
All right, thanks, Rahul.